May I try some?
Yes, you can.
What is Hennessy?
No ice. Cognac.
What's the difference between cognac and whiskey?
That's a great question.
You don't know?
I don't know.
It smells like
I
rum.
just drink it.
Yeah, well, it's something that that we're gonna try.
I think it's the way it's aged, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Ooh.
if anybody wants
Kinda
to
sweet.
chime in, send me a text message. The difference between cognac and different kinds of whiskey. I'd be
Kinda tastes like
interested in knowing.
licorice.
But today on the podcast we have special guest. You've already heard him.
Returning guest.
Yes, returning guest.
Happy to be back.
David Radney.
Woo-woo!
So today we'll start out with a little real estate, and then we'll talk. We get some fun and talk about our photos because David has recently really gotten into
Yes, sir.
taking photography. I've got
Yep.
some background, but we all have experience with photographers because hey, it's part of our job.
It sure is.
And I'm a undiscovered model. So,
You're going to be on the other side of the camera, right?
no, not anymore.
So
Maybe 5 years ago.
yeah, so this is it's something that we all have some passion about, and I think pretty much everybody goes through some phase where whether it's just on their phone or
Of course.
That's true. I'm really into taking photos of my cats.
It's good. I think that's fun. A lot of people.
When
if you
D-Red
look
stopped by my house really quickly, he brought his camera, and I was like, I'm about to ask him if I can go put on a dress and we can do a cat photo shoot. And I didn't. You didn't have enough time.
You know what, though? It takes 1 minute.
I know. That's true. I love my cats, and they're great. They photograph so well.
I agree.
Well, we just on the real estate side of things, real quick.
Yeah, I want to talk about cats.
I know we'll talk because then we'll talk the whole podcast about photographs
Castles, cribs, and cats.
Yes.
That should be my spin-off podcast. Podcats.
Badoonch.
Yes. Yeah. Well done.
That was
Right.
good.
That was good.
Thanks.
Good timing.
But
Whatever.
we recently had an event where Chris Suarez from Portland, Oregon, because there are two.
Maine.
Not
Yeah.
Portland,
Well, there's
Maine.
many more than two, but the
Big
two
ones.
big ones came and discussed a few. He came to our team rally. They call it, where we have 1,000 agents now
I know.
between all of
Ridiculous.
our partners.
That's huge.
And he came special out to go over was the 6 perspectives and to talk to us about the
Open houses.
open houses and the National Association of Realtors statistics that we're seeing across the country, across all price ranges and everything.
I bought the digital download, by the way, so if you guys want it, I'll put it in Google Drive.
Very cool.
Just don't let National Association of Realtors know that, right?
My name is William Scott Stewart. So can I tell a quick fun fact about Chris Suarez?
Sure.
So I was chatting with him in the morning before the event started, and I was saying to him, I really want to come to Portland, and I would love to visit it. And I'm like, if I come, I'm going to say hi to you. He's like, please do. And I was like, question. Is it like the show Portlandia? I'm like, because I've heard that that's shockingly accurate. He's like, I hate to say it, but Portlandia is a good representation of the show. And I'm a huge fan of Portlandia.
Never seen it.
You gotta watch it. You'll die for like an hour and a half. Just watch it and keep going. It's so good. And it turns out he briefly showed houses to Fred Armisen in Portland. I was like, what? I'm
Yeah.
like, what was he like? He's like, really like kind of normal, but like very sarcastic. And I was just like, wow.
For those of you who, he's pretty famous, but if you don't know, he's on Saturday Night Live. He used to play, was it Governor Patterson, the blind governor?
He
from-
was in
yes.
Eurotrip, the creepy
Yes.
Italian guy. They're going,
Yes.
Miss Scusi, Miss Scusi.
Yeah.
I
So-
know exactly who he is.
So
He's-
he's hilarious, and he is the star of
And he actually, like
Portlandia.
he says, spends a lot of time in Portland. Like he actually, Carrie Brownstein, I think, whatever, the co-person of the Portlandia, she has a place in Portland, but according to Chris, Fred spends a lot of time in Portland. So I think it's kind of cool
Yeah,
that
it
he
is
actually
cool.
like spends more time there. So I just thought that was really cool, and just a little bit background of how much of a baller Chris Suarez is.
Very nice.
And I also found out just recently, one of the things, real quick, non-real estate too, but on SNL, You know how much these guys make for like guest appearances?
No.
500.
Pennies, like it's like $1,000, $1,500.
It's an honor to be there.
I know. Well, that's exactly what it is. They're
Right.
usually, and we're talking about the big time actors that are already making.
Of
But it's
course.
just like, but if you think about the person who gets into the more regular role, whether you like it or not, but like an Alec Baldwin who's not part of the cast, who's like he's doing it. But it's a big time commitment for the amount of stuff that he's doing.
So he's
Right.
not getting paid well?
But it's helping his career.
I'm saying, and a lot of people like
career, no, I'm kidding.
like the exposure. Obviously he's made his money from 30 Rock and other places.
Right.
But it was just really interesting. I would have thought higher. I wouldn't think it'd be like crazy money,
Yeah.
but I was really surprised just how low it was.
Right.
And they were just talking about that on another show, and so that was good.
That's got to be so cool, though, like Alec Baldwin status on SNL.
Mm-hmm.
To know that they want you there week after week because
Right.
you're doing such a killer job with the impression of Trump. Like,
Melissa McCarthy as Spicer. I love it.
that's the best.
And over the
She's
years,
great,
there's
man.
been plenty of people that like have been that way. Like
Right.
you just keep coming back.
I've probably never seen a full episode of SNL.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Yeah. I just don't really.
It's honestly not worth watching the full episode most times.
Yeah, that's
Catch
what I
the
mean.
You got like the hit or miss.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I always find it's like I go through periods with it because sometimes
Wait.
when the cast really comes together.
What was the Tom Hanks video with the bones, the skeletons? That was
Yes.
hysterical.
I hadn't seen that one.
Oh my god,
Came out
it's
around
adorable.
Halloween.
Was it David Pumpkins?
Yes.
Yeah.
I also just love Tom Hanks so much, but that was really funny. I think you showed
Tom
us
Hanks.
that, right?
I'll watch him read the phone book. He's.
I would watch
awesome.
him
He's
just
the man.
sleep.
You got Circle coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great one.
Oh, that's what we talked about with D-Rad last time was movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, D-Rad gave me a recommendation. And I'm like, I'll treat myself to a D-Rad movie Friday. Sobbing on the couch. Sobbing. I was like, thanks.
What
Great
movie was
movie.
that?
Hidden Figures. I just sobbed.
yeah.
I just
It's
cried
amazing.
and cried. I'm going to cry just talking
I
about
cried.
I was sobbing. I was like, and I texted him. I'm like, are you kidding me? It was so good. But, like, I didn't think I'd be crying as much as I was.
I didn't even think of that, D-Red. You're such a movie guy. I should have been inviting you. We got the Montclair Film Festival coming up.
Really?
Some good.
Come on, guy.
All right. Sorry.
Let me know. I'll bring my camera. We'll have some
We're
fun.
his Bergen County friends, guys. We're not
Hey.
as Essex
I know.
County
I don't
friends.
even
We're
think
not
of
cool
it,
enough.
but
Right.
we're going to
We're
see.
not if you can come up here for a listing, we can go down
We
there
can go
for.
For
there.
a film festival.
Absolutely.
We've got Bill Nye coming to town.
What?
Wow.
Yep, he's gonna.
The science guy?
Yeah, he's premiering his movie.
Nice.
And then he's doing like a Q&A afterwards
That's awesome.
with Stephen Colbert.
Wow, you're a
Really?
piece
Yeah.
of
'Cause he lives
shit
in
for not
Montclair.
telling
Yep.
us this
Yep.
sooner.
It's awesome.
I'm sorry.
I got really
It's not
excited
okay.
today because, I know a lot of his movies haven't been good, but recently, with Split coming out, they just announced the sequel to Split.
Who?
And,
Did they?
And
Shyamalan.
it's called. I think it's called Glass, and it is bringing Split and Unbreakable
Together.
and that's going to be
Bruce
the sequel.
Willis. That was great.
I mean, so it's Samuel L. And going to be. I got so excited because Unbreakable is one of the best superhero
Why have I
movies.
not seen any of these movies?
Unbreakable. Well, Split's
Willis
new.
Yeah,
but I
Split
showed
is
you
new.
the previews. That's the one with McAvoy, where he's got all the different personalities,
Oh,
and
yeah.
But the one, Unbreakable is Bruce Willis is, figures out he's a superhero.
Guys, Bruce Willis isn't that good.
But it's saying in this movie,
What?
Yeah.
in this, I have to disagree in some things.
Respectfully disagree.
Yeah, I mean, some
He's
things
not
he isn't
that good.
But in this movie, it was you didn't expect it to be you didn't know it was a superhero movie,
Right.
Like they played it so real and and the powers that he had in the movie were so simple that it wasn't fantastical like all these like Marvel and
Right.
DC movies right now. It was a very small thing. It was like as what would happen if real people discovered they had superpowers.
I agree.
What kind of powers was it?
It was he was very strong and he couldn't be injured
Yeah,
or
like
sick.
be
very
injured.
strong. I think in theory it seems cool, but what would you really do with that?
Well, then
Help your friends move?
And
As a
he's
realtor, I'm
already
really
a
strong.
security guard.
I can carry stuff around for you.
Yeah, but he was already a security guard,
Right.
and the other power
He's not going to get paid more for being stronger.
But and that's the thing. Superheroes really wouldn't be.
I think you could.
I just don't see the benefit to it.
But what
everyone's going to ask you to help move.
The other power that he had a sense, like he could, if he came into contact with somebody, he could tell if they did something
he's
evil.
a superhero. Now he's starting a moving
Now he's a super
company.
mover.
Look,
One man.
I'm sure it's good. I'm just being very salty.
No,
about
I'm saying,
this.
like, if I was...
yeah, no, that movie is phenomenal.
I'm just
though.
being salty.
You need to watch it.
I like
That's
how I keep
15,
peeking.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
I keep peeking.
Which is so funny. Yeah, I watched it recently and I was like,
Really?
oh my God, this seems so late 90s, early 2000s.
Great
like,
movies, though. Great movies during those times.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's and I say with superpowers, it's like this is one of the reasons why I want Magneto's powers because you could actually make a lot of money for that. You could go create your own construction company and build skyscrapers
There
really
you go.
easily.
You sure
I
could.
don't. That's what I mean.
could.
Like there are superpowers where it's just like that's just an inconvenience. Like Luke Cage, most of it was inconvenient.
It's true.
This is true.
Like I could have been in that writer's room, but like no.
But
It's
it
just
worked.
inconvenient.
He made it
and
work.
it's Luke Cage, and he's fine as hell, so I'll watch it. We're good there.
And it had Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, we like
so
Rosario.
that's all I need.
She looked really good.
So back to a real estate superhero, Chris Suarez.
Right.
That's
Ah,
true.
nice
That's what
tie-in.
we were talking about.
He's, he really goes through the stats, and I think we're all stat people. We like numbers, and really, as a realtor, you should. If someone says, "Oh, I don't like numbers," it's like, well, then you're only doing half your job in this business.
Don't you dare look at me.
No, you
I
like
felt
numbers.
his eyes on me.
You do like numbers.
I don't like algebra. I don't like math.
Yeah, but
I like numbers.
that's
And
different.
Megan didn't know that she liked numbers until we started.
Scott's gonna take all the credit. Scott's the
Hey,
reason why I like
said
numbers.
we started.
I know. No, I'm just kidding.
And now
No, 'cause-
Megan's like a numbers whiz.
Well,
There it is.
I'm a calculator. I just got my calculator from high school back, and that's been like saving me so much time. No, you're right. And I think sometimes like it's if you don't use numbers, it's really hard to explain to a client what we're trying to say.
Right.
Because we can say, oh, well, you're not going to get as much money for your house if you do FSBO, but we don't. That's just words to them.
And that was one of the key things
Yeah.
that he said during the meeting. He was talking about FSBOs, and he said, yes, FSBOs will sell. They will.
Right.
It's like it's not something that is impossible. But he showed the
Which again,
statistics.
FSBOs are for sale by owners.
Yes, sorry. And they will sell, but typically they sell within the if they are going to sell, they sell within the first 2 weeks, and they sell because either they vastly underprice them,
Very true.
or they sell because they already knew the person who bought it
It's like
through
a pocket
family
deal.
Prearranged.
or
Yeah.
through friends or through neighbors.
Right.
So, but if you get beyond the 2 weeks, it dramatically dropped in the number that sell. And David, you were saying you call a lot, and what was it? What was the percentage?
16%. They leave 16% on the table.
That's like
That's a staggering number.
that's like 2-3 times what our commission is.
Exactly.
And most people say,
me a couple
why are you going for sale by owner? They're trying to save money.
Right.
Well, if they're leaving 16% on the table,
Stepping
are they
over
really saving
nickels,
that 6%?
quarters.
Yeah, whatever that saying
Tripping
is.
over dimes to make nickels.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I will never get it right, but that's what it is. You think it's perceived savings. You're not actually saving
You're not
money.
saving money. But the thing is, we can't talk percentages. We can't say you're leaving 16%. We have to quantify that with a number and say,
Right.
See, that's
you're
how
leaving
my-
$25,000.
That's
on
how
the
my
table.
mind works.
At a $500,000 house, we're talking about leaving $80,000 on the table.
That's huge.
And
That's a big number.
It's a
in
huge
most
number.
of those cases, for sale by owners, in at least half the for sale by owner transactions,
Right.
they end up paying a commission, like a commission to the buyer's agent anyway.
Yeah.
So then you're also putting
That's
yourself at a
true.
disadvantage because your buyer's represented and has somebody negotiating on their behalf,
professional. Right.
and you're doing it
You're
yourself.
paying someone to negotiate against you.
That's exactly-
not a good
that's
idea.
exactly
when you
what
don't
you're
have
doing.
someone to back you up. That's
Right.
not the best idea.
And we've talked about for sale by owners in the past on the podcast,
Yeah.
Right.
But it was just so interesting because I didn't know those exact numbers that he was giving us, and it was eye opening that it's like I can say to somebody if they're saying, well, I'm going to sell it myself. I can bring it up to them
Right.
and say, listen, take 2 weeks, try to sell it yourself.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Right.
But after that 2 weeks, here's these are the numbers.
And don't you feel like there are a lot of for sale by owners that are bringing in realtors to price the house?
Of course they do.
Oh, it happens.
Of course they do. I've been guilty of that myself.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're doing work for buyers. So thank you for inviting me into your home before it hits the market. Now I know your motivation.
Right.
I know the things that if I was representing you, I would not be divulging maybe. And now I know everything to now work against you. Not in a Machiavellian way, but just regular negotiating.
Well, the issue is the for sale by owner, they start talking.
That's what I mean.
And they'll tell you things like, well, I'm going to list at 5. I'm willing to take 480.
Yep.
Or I have to move because my job starts in July.
That's what I
have to
mean.
be out.
So don't list with me.
we
Pay
were-
me a commission.
Megan and I were just at a showing where it was incredible to hear, the agent was there, the
Right.
showing agent, or the listing agent, and our buyer, we were having a tough time getting him to kind of like stop talking about motivation points.
Right.
I texted Scott
it was
because
like-
he was a little bit late. I'm like, get in here.
Like, this serves no good purpose.
That's absolutely right.
In our negotiations for you to, and in his mind, he's a smart guy.
Right.
He's
He's
thinking
being
like
straight shooter. He's just being a
he's
straight
like,
shooter.
I want to come across as strong and tell them exactly
And
what I intend to
intelligent,
do.
yeah.
Right.
But they don't need that information.
They don't need it.
Like, we want to hold that back so that we're
Yeah.
coming from a power position. And
Absolutely.
you're so right. Yeah, sellers
Most just
think like
people. Yeah.
they can just have that conversation, but I'm like, yeah, you just said it, 500,000, but I'll take 480.
Right.
So I'll bring you a buyer.
You just dropped your price 4%.
Exactly.
I'm not going to bring a buyer in and
Good man.
So if
Give
you
you
just hired,
5.
if you just hired me, I could do the job for you.
That's
and
most
net
of the
you more
commission
money.
right there.
And now
Absolutely.
pay me a commission. I'll bring you a buyer at 460.
Well, so the biggest issue is Scott and I had this conversation a couple days ago. Exposure. A for sale by owner that puts their property out there on the market, how many buyers are they exposing their property to? What percentage do you think? 10%, 20, 30, 40?
That was another thing that he showed.
let me guess.
Right.
Let me guess though. I wasn't there.
What would you guess?
Oh, I would have guessed
It was 5.
5%.
Is that really the
See,
case?
I find that hard to believe with Zillow.
I think it's a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Let's just say they're exposing it to 50%, which is a huge number.
Yeah.
They're still leaving half the buyers that they're not exposing their property
And
to.
that 50% might not want to buy your house. That number is getting cut down to even less.
Oh, it's getting cut down. But if they hire us, they're being exposed to everybody. We create more demand. If we can create more demand for them, we're going to demand a higher price point.
Even just at a bar, I'm talking to someone and I'm talking to them about properties and
Right.
and like just sharing among us as friends, talking about our businesses coming on. I'm like, oh, I might have someone for that. You're talking about just getting a different level of exposure.
Of course.
Yeah,
and
'cause
also
what,
like
what was the statistic on number of people who hear about a house at a bar and then go ahead and buy it?
wow.
Well, actually, so
Question
yeah.
for Debbie, right?
Debbie!
You know that answer.
But there was a fun,
believed you.
actually the number he actually put out, he's like the total number of sales that happen for sale by owners in the entire country was 6%. It was actually 6%.
Wow.
And half of them, there was a realtor on one of the sides.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So
Have.
only 3% of for sale by owners did they pay zero.
Zero.
I mean, 3% of all real estate transactions did they pay zero commission.
Well, here's the thing. They paid whether it was commission or they got a lower price.
Right.
They paid no matter what.
So-
no matter what the situation.
But that's the thing, is like, I want to look for the 97%.
They're out there.
I don't want to try to find the angels hanging out at 3%.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
It's that's the big thing, I think, is
And isn't commission a tax deduction when you sell a home?
it's, you know what, I'm not an accountant.
Some
so
of the
Okay.
settlement
I
closing
feel
costs
like
are,
there is something. I could be all right. Maybe let's not even open that can of worms. But I do think there is a tax benefit to paying a commission, whether it's big or little or whatever. Let's not even get into it. I've been meaning to clarify this. Talk to someone that can clarify it, because I think that if you're selling a home, I think your commission you're paying.
I would just always say, consult an accountant anytime
Absolutely.
you're buying or selling.
a cost of sale.
And also, especially if you have, if you're a senior citizen,
Right.
If you have,
Veteran?
if you're a veteran, there are many different tax benefits that you're not directly aware of exactly what your benefits are, and or programs too. Like there are loan programs for buying for not just VA. There are companies
no, I
that do
know.
non-VA but
Yeah.
veteran programs.
Yeah.
And there's a lot out there. They might say, "Oh, we'll cover some of your closing costs because you're a veteran, or because you're a school teacher, or because
or a firefighter."
There are different programs that people will offer.
Getting back really quickly on the FSBO, have you guys ever brought a buyer to a FSBO, like an actual genuine buyer?
Last
Absolutely.
week.
And
Last week.
Don't you feel like it's super awkward sometimes?
It's so awkward because they're walking me around the house and they're saying, "Here's the kitchen. Here's the master bedroom."
That's the kitchen?
They don't understand how to sell the home and how to get out of their own way.
Yeah.
My buyer doesn't feel comfortable opening the master closet when the seller's right there.
We had
so it
discussed
hinders
this.
the sale.
Not even just FSBOs. We've been encountering, Scotty and I.
Yeah, we were talking about this. It's like, we've probably talked about it past episodes
so,
of the podcast
actually.
about like the seller getting out of. So even when they list with us, it's so important for the seller to just clear out when the buyer comes to look at the home with their agent, because if the seller's there, they don't sell houses every day, so they want to point out like, "Oh, did you know I did this over here?" And the buyer doesn't honestly really care. The buyer is there to absorb the home for themselves and see what they would like to make it. We've got a little bit
paparazzi.
of feedback coming.
No, I like the sound. I think it's good. And sometimes, like we said,
for a FSBO though, like the point of access is them letting somebody in the door,
right?
So they're more likely to just stick around and basically shoot themselves in the foot because
so uncomfortable.
But here's why they stick around. They're letting people in that aren't vetted.
Yep.
We live in a world where you have to be very careful who you let in your home, especially if you have children. You have medicine, you have guns and valuables. You can't let just anyone in your house anymore. And the benefit of working with an agent is that we vet our buyers, or at least we should.
Yep. Yeah.
They should be pre-approved, and they're going to come in your house with an agent that only has access to your lockbox because they've been fingerprinted and had the background check done.
The fingerprint is the big thing.
That's huge.
Because we all have to be fingerprinted to be a realtor.
Right. But the biggest thing about FSBOs, the owner of ForSaleByOwner.com used a realtor to sell his house.
End of discussion. Mic drop.
Mic drop. We're done.
Do you bring that article to your
I used to. I haven't done it recently, and maybe I should start. I have the article.
I haven't gotten much pushback on Zillow, but somebody did say to me, like, "Oh, well, it says on Zillow, I know it's not accurate." And they were genuinely just saying, like, "Will that come into play when we list our home and it's lower?" I said, "Absolutely not." And I've never had a buyer that said that to me. And I did the whole thing. Well, the Zillow owner, his home sold for far less than his estimate, and then bought a home for much higher than his estimate. Mic drop again. Yeah. So I haven't encountered that much. I'm sure when you were in the business,
when I first started,
it was probably much bigger.
Not when I first started. When Zillow first started,
what I'm saying.
Okay.
And first came out with those estimates, everybody immediately took it as gospel. Yeah. So I had to I actually battled with Zillow, the company, directly because their numbers were so out of whack in our neighborhood. I had a house that was the estimate was $400,000, and the house was sold for $750,000.
I remember you mentioning this on the podcast.
It was so because they were only looking at tax records.
Okay.
And they were this one was a historic home that was old, that had all these different tax benefits to it, but was still worth more. But there was tons of ones because towns, a lot of times, there's two ways that they do taxes, adjust taxes. They either adjust the value of the property, or they adjust what's called an equalization ratio, and they change and the rate. So they change those things. So the straight up tax record, if you're just reading it, might say, oh, it's a property's worth $200,000.
Right.
But that equalization ratio says that number only represents 80% of the value.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So there's another 20% more.
Absolutely.
That's 240. That's 240,000 it should have sold for.
And anytime you're going just based off the tax record, there's so many questions that come up from that. Is like, when was the town last reassessed?
Well, that's exactly what it was.
Have things been equalized across the town, or is this guy with an $800,000 house paying $18,000 in taxes? Really, his house is now worth $600,000, but he's still paying taxes based on what it was assessed in 2005.
Right.
There's so many different factors.
That's why they shouldn't be bothered with this stuff, homeowners. That's why they have us.
And that's the main place where Zillow has information from. So unless the town was just reassessed, and then you're going to be decently close. But I always look at the star rating. Even if it's 3 stars, I believe it's they have a 20% error rate.
But haven't you noticed that when you list a property, all of a sudden the Zestimate starts to match your list price?
Well, of course,
because it's like, so it's just silly.
Right.
But we're past that. I think we're so past that time.
It is very past it.
And if anybody says that to me, for me, it's a red flag.
Well, I use the star rating, and I let them know that there is a whole page that's very, very difficult to get to.
I told someone about this, yeah.
But it shows you what each star rating. So unless it's I think 5 star says it's within 5% of the or something like that.
Okay.
But even and the only neighborhoods that get those 5-star, ratings on there is a town that is brand, that has just had a bunch of new construction, and they're all, they're all in the same cul-de-sac, and
which we don't really have a lot of in New Jersey.
New Jersey doesn't. I'm sure it can be more accurate in other parts of the country. But yeah, I've definitely had FSBO say, mine says, my Zestimate says, it's worth 1.4 million.
Call Zillow.
Well, if it was, I'm saying it's worth 1.1. You could list it for 1.3, and it should sell in a day if that's the accurate.
My Montvale property was Zestimated at $1 million. It was a 4-room house.
A 4-room house?
Yeah,
not bedroom.
4-room house.
Oh shit.
On that beautiful piece of property, but it's because every other home on the street was $1 million.
Right.
So I actually did a screenshot, and I said, and I put it on my Facebook, and this is why you don't listen to Zillow. Because if you want to listen, I would love to have sold that property for $1 million.
Of course.
I got halfway there, but I didn't get it. So, I mean, and I did it more as jest and just, just being funny, but, you can't worry about it. I think the people that really, really think that all we do is sit and eat bonbons and we're useless, I don't really have time for them. I don't care. I got lots of people that value me and think that I'm wonderful, that I'm not here trying to convince somebody that I'm valuable. I'm good.
And honestly, no discredit to our industry as a whole, but there are agents who do just sit around eating bonbons.
Yeah. Some days I eat bonbons, but that's my day off.
But we are not them, and
absolutely.
I think we're very capable of representing our value to our clients.
We are.
So it was interesting. I was talking to my client yesterday about inspection stuff, and she's like, I gotta say, she was from the Midwest, bought and sold a couple times, and she's in Jersey now. She was like, I gotta say to you, maybe I just had really good experiences out, where I used to live, but I feel like everyone around here, these inspectors are just these handy guys that went to school for one day and got a certification and are now inspecting homes. She goes, I just feel like it's so different over here. And I'm like, I blame that on my industry for allowing buyers to use people that are not qualified, that don't know what they're talking about, and that kill deals. I'm like, so I blame that on our industry for not putting our foot down. But she was saying, I just find it really funny. I've done real estate in 3 different states. And, she's like, maybe I just got lucky then, and maybe it's how it always is. But she's like, I'm just surprised at the sheer amount of, and this is my client that got a $40,000 repair letter for inspections, and we laughed so hard, and we were like, bye.
And now that you bring that up, though, that's a great point, because I feel like that's another value add to us as real estate agents, is that we're doing this every day.
Right. And
I think we can all agree the market today is so much different than even just the market last year.
Yes.
Where, bringing up inspections, I'm kind of talking to my buyers ahead of time about the fact that, in this kind of market right now,
you're totally talking to them about it.
You have to be.
If we are going up against multiple offers,
right,
your inspector has to go in there and make sure that the home is structurally sound. There's nothing major that's going to be a big issue. We're going to go to bat and fight and try and get every little thing, fixed for you, but you can't, in this environment, be walking away from a home over small little knick-knack issues.
I had a deal,
because there's 5 buyers lined up behind you
that will take your place.
Yep. So
I had a deal fall apart. It wasn't my deal, but it was the buyer that's buying my listing. Their contingent. Their deal fell through over $1,000 on electrical blocks. You can't. It can't be real. That cannot be real. First, the seller has to address it. And I'm just like, that's just people that are not setting expectations. And that's an inspector that scared the living hell out of these clients that were terrified.
The deal breakers.
This is what happens when you don't have someone, you don't have a resource. And I think that's our biggest takeaway in this whole podcast has always been have a realtor that has a good team, that has good resources, and that is trust, and that's here to fight for you.
You can cut your own hair if you really want to. I mean, you know,
we were just talking about that.
But I'm saying, like,
I do that.
But I'm saying, like, yes, okay, yes,
Right.
it's easy if you're just shaving your head, but you've got a.
I don't cut my own hair.
I'm not talking about having someone cut your. I'm talking you trying to do it completely by yourself, and you can do it yourself.
I've seen Instagram.
But are you going to get a better haircut if you go to a professional?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I may butcher this, but my grandfather used to say, "Just because you can do it doesn't mean it's to be done."
Yeah,
and it's so true. So true.
I was talking to one of my parents' customers at the bar one day, so stuff does go down in bars, okay? And it wasn't like specific commission talk, but it was about discount commission or whatever. And I said, Tim, I said, it just blows my mind that something as valuable as your home, which you've raised your children in, that you've gained a lot of equity in, that you would want to not him directly, but the proverbial him, you'd want to pass off as someone that's raising their hand saying, I'm cheap. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, this is your most precious asset besides your family. And you're willing to pass it off to someone that doesn't really want to put in the work and doesn't think they're worth it. And he's like, I actually never thought of it like that. And I'm like, really? Because, like, you work really hard buying a home. And when you're over 25 years, you're gaining a lot of equity. And maybe that helps your kids go through college. So that should be taken as seriously as a medical condition.
It should be, but they don't see our value. They think we're glorified door openers, so they don't see the value in paying us 6% when someone else will do it for 4% because they believe we all do the same thing. And it's our job to educate them on what we do differently.
Well, and we talked about it the other day. So, yeah, with the FSBOs selling for like 16% off.
Yes.
It's so important to bring your statistics to these listing presentations to show, okay, maybe the average agent in our MLS is probably doing what, maybe 96%? Of what a home is listed for?
94.
94.
See, it's dropped in the last year.
Yeah.
And so now if you can come to the table and say, listen, the homes that I've listed have gone for 97, 98, 99% of what they were listed at. $1 million.
You pay for yourself.
That's a value add. Yeah, I just paid for my commission.
That's right. And
by representing you.
And I'm doing all the work and will guarantee that we'll get to closing.
Yep.
It's not that you can't get a contract on your house, Mr. For Sale by Owner. It's can you get it to closing and walk away with more money?
I usually tell my clients, getting accepted is the easy part sometimes. Right. It's what all the crap that comes after that is do or die, that gives you gray hair, because a lot of it's out of our control and a lot of it is just some things you just can't predict. But I'm like, getting an offer on your home is the easy part. I really think that's the easiest part of our job, sometimes.
Which is the value of this podcast. You guys are talking about all the behind scene things that sellers and buyers don't know about, and they see how much work we put into it when we're doing our job, but most people don't know that.
No, and I think because a lot of people aren't doing it, so their experience with it.
They're eating bonbons
again.
We're just drinking scotch.
Cognac.
We always say it. Half the realtors, do less than one transaction a year. Licensed realtors. Now that doesn't mean they're active. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean they're going into the office every day. This is somebody who just got their license, and that is the old perceived. Notion of real estate. And the other side of it is that in the past, there were, we were the only place you could come to for information.
Yes. Right.
So people had to come to us. Now people don't come directly to, we have to go out and find them, and we have to go out and find them and educate buyers and sellers properly so that they make the right decisions.
Correct.
Because there is a lot of information out there. There's great information, and I'm not going to, sit here and berate a buyer or seller for looking on the internet for more
No.
I was almost going to say that's the only really cool thing about Zillow and TruliaRealtor.com. Information being readily accessible to buyers and sellers has almost made it more important for us to be really good at our jobs.
Yes.
And I think you see more of that separation of now that we're not the beholders of the information,
right?
Like you're either good at your job or you're not.
You're either a door opener or you're a realtor.
That's right.
Well, it's like you can buy stocks on E-Trade, but you're not going to know, you're not going to know a random oil drilling company in the middle of the, Gulf of Mexico that, that's listed, but you have no idea. And by the time Jim Cramer talks about it, it's already moved.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like it's the Jim Cramer effect. It's like, okay, just wait to sell it after he mentions mentions it because a bunch of people are going to buy it and not make any money on it, and you take advantage. The professional will take advantage of that opportunity.
Speaking of information, I want to have a proud KW moment right now. So
let's do it.
One of my friends from high school reached out to me a few days ago. Kept in touch over the years, love her, but she lives in Florida now with her husband. She reached out to me about wanting to start doing some investment properties in Jersey, and we talked last night on the phone, and she told me that she was at a party with her in-laws and their whole family, and one of her husband's friends is a part owner of a Keller Williams in North Carolina where her husband's family lives, and she had mentioned to them about wanting to do investments, like, oh, you got to buy this book. So she bought The Millionaire Real Estate Investor.
Nice.
Read it cover to cover, I think, twice, and now is highlighting everything. And I was like, she called me, I was like, you've been Kellerized. Oh my God. I was like, this is going to be so much more enjoyable now because she's smart. Like, she wants to learn.
That's awesome.
And she knows that although she can learn all the information, she needs an expert like me,
right,
to downswing to help her make her dream come true. But it was such a really proud moment of our company that, like, she was at a random party down the coast. They mentioned our company. She read Gary's book, Gary Keller. I'm in first name basis with him apparently, and it's just like, oh my God, I love this.
That's great.
And I was just like, this is why I'm at this company, and this is why we're not every not every agent that's with KW is amazing. Not every agent that's not with KW isn't amazing, but that's why we are different, because we take the time to be educated. And just the fact that, like, she read it cover to cover, I'm like, shit, I haven't even read it. Like, I feel like I need to read it now in order to get the other side of things. But I was like beaming. I'm like, wow, like it's so amazing, part of a company that has that influence, that has that power. And I just felt so friggin' proud yesterday, and it was really
awesome.
cool. It was cool.
So let's get a little bit more into the photography side of things, because honestly, you've been taking some awesome pictures. I mean, we're all friends on Instagram and Facebook
D-Rad's
and everything
Cannon,
like
at
that.
D-Rad's Cannon,
Yeah, D-Rad's Cannon, that's it.
But I'm certainly I have my DSLR and everything like that. And
of course,
I love taking photos, and it is it's amazing the slight difference. I mean, the iPhone 7 right now can take
incredible,
amazing
but it's
photos.
different.
It's incredible.
There's no depth to it.
But you can take so many more. I mean, just when you start to learn about ISO or the shutter speed,
the apertures,
apertures,
absolutely.
I mean,
I love your aperture you took on St. Patty's Day with his Scotch glass with a little hat on it you took.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
That was fun. Remember, you didn't go, Scott? I'm just kidding.
I do remember.
Cinco de Mayo is this Friday.
He had a very good
Friday.
reason.
Yeah.
And so
Cinco de Mayo next Friday. You down to
and
do
be
it
glad
again?
you didn't go, because I got the flu at St. Patrick's Day.
I didn't give it to you.
I was miserable.
He texted me the next day. Someone got me sick. I'm like, I feel great.
Wasn't me.
Wasn't me. I'm healthy as a clam. But no, that's happy as a clam.
But yeah, D-Rad, what got you into photography? Because I know, I kind of feel like I remember when you first started taking photos.
But you always enjoyed getting your listing photos.
Yeah.
So I love the listing photos, but more importantly, my camera. I used to take photos with my camera, but they just weren't the best photos. And so I decided to make an investment and buy a DSLR. I bought a Canon.
Nice.
Love my
Didn't
Canon.
you buy one after your big closing? Was that your gift to yourself?
It was.
And we're not endorsing one product or another. I love my Nikon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
they're all great. It's not about
great.
the camera. It's about the photographer.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But
Very true.
what I will say is I made a goal for myself, and I think I shared this with you guys before. It was to help with my mindset and to stay positive, and it was to find one beautiful thing every day.
Well,
and take
you're
a picture
looking
of
at
it.
one right
I just
now.
took a picture of it right now.
Just look at it
right
every
now.
day.
Right now. There we go. And my camera broke. Oh, shit. No. So, no, I have to tell you. So it's really helped with my mindset that I'm driving around every day and I'm looking for beautiful things. And to me, beautiful could be a flower, but it can also be an abandoned building. I can find beauty in anything.
Love the photo of that woman touching her daughter's hair
At the mall.
Oh my God!
That mother's love. Like, I'm always looking for something positive, and it's a great outing for me. It gets me out the house. I turn the TV off now and I go hiking. I'm taking photos.
I told D-Rad he needs to get an iMac now so he can go home, look at his photos, do some editing. I think honestly having that, and that's actually a bigger screen than I think that I have.
That is an amazing screen.
This is the biggest iMac that
so
has.
mine isn't that big.
Gorgeous.
But I'm telling you, for business and for pleasure,
of course,
it's it's really good. I think you would enjoy having that in your office.
I definitely would.
It's a good investment, and it's a tax write-off.
But if I had the money to buy that computer, I would buy more lenses. So for me, it's all about.
How about you just hustle and buy them both?
I could do that.
Let's do that.
I could do that. But for me, that's what photography is all about.
Yeah.
How about you guys? You guys have cameras too.
I will say that the thing that I'm most envious of your photography is your ability to capture people, because I've always been the type of photographer where, other than theater where something's staged, where something's in place, because that's something that I really enjoy doing.
Right.
But doing like when I go somewhere, I'm much more. I'm passionate about architecture, and I'm passionate about buildings, and I'm passionate about nature. So when I have those different things,
right,
that's what I focus on. But I've never been somebody who sits there and takes the photo of the person.
Right.
And that's always been something that's challenged me.
Gotcha.
So when I see some of your photos, like, I think, wow, that's great. And again, when I did take photos of people, I love candid photos, not staged photos.
I like candid. I prefer candid. The street photography for me is something in the beginning I was a little uncomfortable with, because you don't know who you're approaching. Right. We live in a crazy world, so you have to be careful. But I just like catching random people. And you just pay someone a compliment. I love your dress. Can I take a picture? That compliment means the world to them. You take the time to speak to them, and they'll let you get the picture.
Right.
It's amazing. It's a great way to meet people, and this is our business. We're people. We have to meet people every day. And that person you take a picture of may need to sell a house.
I was going to say, so you made up business cards that are your Drad's canon, but on the back, you're very much making it a point that you are a realtor as well.
Absolutely. Right? I let people know, and I've had some great conversations with people.
Awesome way to kind of meet new people. And
absolutely.
Yeah, little icebreaker. I love that.
And it gets me out of my comfort zone. I love talking to people, but sometimes going up to a stranger can be a little tricky for me.
Oh, yeah.
But it's gotten me out of that my comfort zone, and I'm willing to go talk to people now. And so that's what we need to do in our business, is go out there and meet people and get in front of people. And that camera is my guide.
Yep. Well, the funny thing about cameras is they can either be something where it pushes people, where it pushes people's guard up.
Right.
But it can also be something like, oh, there's a barrier between me and that person.
Right.
There's a buffer zone.
Right.
I'm good. And so there are definitely both sides of that.
Yeah.
So I think that's it's certainly something that that's why I love theater. With the theater photography,
yes.
My favorite parts of theater photography were taking things like where they would just say, just go.
Right.
I would just tell them, just act.
Just
do your run through, do your scene, and then I would go and I'd say I might be in your way a little bit, so don't knock into me.
Right.
But I'm gonna be like, I might get right up in your face, just pretend I'm not there, and that was the most fun that I've ever had.
Of course.
Taking
so I started
photos.
talking, forgetting we were podcasting. I'm like, I'm just talking. I'm like, oh, I'm on a mic right now. I was getting another beer. I would love to have my wedding photos someday all candid, with maybe a few prom pictures, I hate them. But I think candid photos are always my favorite thing ever, and I just think me and Matt are not, if we ever get married.
So having just gone through looking for a wedding photographer,
yes,
that was one of our main criteria. We would look at portfolios of these people who were shooting photos, and you can tell the difference between the guy who has a camera and knows how to take pictures. Okay, great. But the guy who really has a skill set is the one who...
Or woman.
Or woman. Of course.
Girl power!
But we did hire a guy. So.
I know, that's fine.
The person who can blend in, right?
Actually, we should probably get him on the podcast at some point.
Absolutely.
My sister's wedding photographer, one was gorgeous. Look at the brawny man. He was very handsome. And he was funny and really casual. And since he was really good looking, when you smiled, you were really trying to smile.
Of course, I get that.
And he was really great. He was very, that was my first experience with a wedding photographer, intimately, where I was the maid of honor, so it was more intense. But I really liked him. He was expensive. expensive, but he was very good. But I think you can tell, and that's what's so funny. Like, photography just seems easy. Like, oh, just take a picture, but it's so not easy. And
it's not
even just
easy.
like even a couple on their happiest day, well, you hope it's their happiest day,
Right.
Even some of these photos can come across so not genuine. And I just feel like all that money you're spending, you want it to be genuine. You don't want it to look cheesy or fake or staged. And some of these things are just like, she's got Barbie hands. You know when they have Barbies, their
Yes.
hands, it's like this. And it's like I don't know.
Just be natural with it.
Be natural. Do you like your photographer?
We love them. I mean, and
You
it's
love 'em?
because it's because of that. Like, and it was funny because I think we all work with Ryan from Front Door.
Absolutely.
Here. We're hoping to get him on the podcast soon
God.
enough.
I don't, but I'm open to.
Yeah.
He's totally
For
should.
drone shots, he's definitely worth the investment.
And even just the regular shots. Like,
I know,
there's
but
something
Michael
about,
takes his own photos.
Like, I've been joking with Ryan the past couple shoots that he's come out on for me. It's like, I can look through the MLS,
Yes.
and all of a sudden, I'm like, that's a Front Door
You're
photography.
taking my. I told Ted that you're stealing my story.
Yeah, well,
'Cause
we
up
can
by
have the same conversation.
That's true. I'm just getting the territorial. Up by me in like Gardens at MLS, like it's not that common where agents in Ringwood and Wanakee will use Ryan. And I found his listing photos. I'm like, that's Ryan.
course
And I
you know.
actually worked with the agent on it. I said, was that Front Door? She's like, yeah. How did you know? I'm like, because it looked amazing.
Yep. So taking it back to weddings really quick. When Michelle and I got married almost 16 years ago.
I was gonna say, you gonna give me shit for being 10 when you got married? Because apparently,
That just
D-Rad,
drives me crazy
I
that
came
you were
to his
10 when I
house-
got married.
I came to his house, had a drink. Your wife came home, your beautiful, lovely wife, and you had mentioned, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I was 10, and D-Rad like got pissed at me,
Yeah.
and a couple weeks later, I was like, you're 10 years old. Like, it was
Just
bad.
crazy shit.
I can't help it.
Yeah,
It's all-
he'd be mad at both of us too.
Yeah.
Right.
That's half my life ago.
I know.
just turned 32.
I know,
so.
it's crazy, man. But what I was going to say is at our wedding on the table, we had about 5 disposable cameras
I love
on
it.
every table. So the guests were taking pictures of us and each other.
Probably the best photos you got.
They were candid. They were
Yeah.
what you wanted.
Yep.
And it was amazing. So
I would
think
hire-
about doing that at
I
your
would-
wedding.
For sure.
It was huge.
DJ Roomba.
Well,
DJ Roomba.
a lot of people at the last wedding I was just at a wedding.
Yeah.
And what they did is they just created a hashtag.
There's actually an app too you can do.
So they had everybody just hashtag it.
Yep.
So all the photos that were going up on either Twitter or Instagram, or they would all
That's
be
awesome.
But
hashtag,
there should
and they
be
would
an
be.
app where you can download.
There is.
Yeah.
But
that,
like,
that requires everybody
I'm just saying,
to
like
download
it was just a really easy.
No,
just,
I know.
Just post
I just
with
hate
this.
wedding hashtags. They make me cringe. I'm
Well,
just a hater of
we
those
have
things.
one, so-
What is it?
Scott and Paula show.
That's adorable
Nice.
because of the Moose and Yogi show.
I like that.
See, that's creepy that I knew that. That's adorable.
Yeah.
But see, like I hate the one that's like blah 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 blah.
I don't
Those
li-
ones.
I don't like when it's like a play on words.
Thank
like,
you.
Right.
all right. Like,
It's a little,
Yeah.
it's
a little
bit
bit of a
much.
stretch.
It's a bit much.
Like like if their last name was like here, like HEIR, here they come. Like fuck off. You're not getting $50 less on your wedding check because that was cheesy.
hopefully the ears are not listening right now.
What? No, I made that up. I'm just saying, like.
But it is funny though. I'm actually the worst when those hashtags and things like that come.
Right.
Because when I'm at an event, I mean, I guess it depends on the event. But when I'm with somebody, the people that I really care about,
I don't
that
go
are
near my
closest, I don't have my phone, and I'm not
Yes.
taking like I might take one, two pictures.
I agree
the
with you.
entire night.
I'm
the
always
rest of the
so
time,
present.
I am enjoying
Yes.
the moment,
Yeah.
and I think I recently changed from that, but I've kind of always been that way, which is why I have almost no Facebook photos of myself. They're always of other people, but
Yeah, that's the downside of it.
yeah.
You don't have that memory captured.
Well, every
But-
mom is in no photo of all the childhood memories. The mom's always taking the picture. Moms were never in the photos.
Not the
But you
moms I
talk-
see.
Oh yeah, well I'm talking like my mom, like
That's-
that age of mom.
Not the mills.
Like
Okay.
but
What?
Huh?
Not the MILFs? My mother's beautiful. She should
She
be a
sure
MILF.
is.
I am
Your mo-
offended
No.
that you did not just call her a MILF.
Your mother is beautiful.
Yeah.
I've told you that several
Just
times.
make sure you call her MILF next time or I'm going to be freaking pissed. I'm just
But-
kidding.
but the
She does listen, you know.
That's
yes, she does. She
Yeah.
listens
You're
to
in
the
trouble.
She's a MILF.
There
But,
we go. She'll be dying. Mommy, I love you.
Taking these photos, like it was one of the things that I learned from listening to other podcasts about celebrities,
Right.
like with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, two of the most venerated actors
Absolutely.
right now. They both say, like, if someone asks them to take a picture, they'll be like, Would you rather have a conversation?
Oh my God, much rather.
Would you rather share a moment?
But you know what,
And
though?
it's just
Some
like,
people
that's-
probably ask for a photo to not bother them, but they're not realizing that it's more bothersome to like cheese it.
Well,
and
most
have them
people
run
are
away.
just taking a photo because they see. Well, the other side of it is they also realize that people would just take a photo because they saw other people just taking a photo with them,
Right.
And they say, "I'd rather have a conversation with you and give you that moment for the rest of your life,
I would
rather
make
than
Ian McKellen like
a 10-minute."
repeat a line from Lord of the Rings, but just say it and I'll leave you alone.
Right.
And he would be like, he'd just say no.
He'd be like, no. I'd be like,
I think the
you.
conversation's huge.
Yeah.
I like to have the conversation and
I
take
don't-
the photo
I don't-
on my way out.
I don't have a lot of
Yeah.
photos of me and Matt. Like, there's like one, and it's usually his mom taking them. Like, we're not photo people. We take photos of our animals constantly, but we're just so living in the moment. And there are times I wish I was better at documenting things. Like, even like with us with the podcast, there are times I wish we took selfies and did this shit, but we just don't because like we're just not those kinds of people. Because we're just enjoying each other's company and it doesn't have to be documented. But at the end of the day, like, someday we're going to be old and remember these days. And I want to be able to have memories of these things. I'm just not very good at documenting things. I wait for everyone else to do it.
It takes an effort. You have to make an effort to
And
do
I
it.
don't make efforts, but I'm trying. I intend.
There is no try.
Good. Yeah.
We're going to take a
You can
picture
do it
later
or
then.
You don't.
Yeah, only a Sith deals in absolutes, though. So
There it is.
no, but I definitely, one of my intentions is to have more photos taken where I'm part of the photo. I'm not, like
Of course.
no, because it's like I really try to find like. But I'm single. Like I go to, if I'm going on a dating app or something like that, trying to find recent photos.
You would
Like
love
I have one photo a year. Like it's just like of me.
Yeah.
Like or it's a big group.
We're taking a new one for your
I got
dating
you right
app.
now. There
But
you
it's
go.
just funny like that.
Totally
There's
gonna get some swipe rights now.
there's a couple like at this last wedding.
Right.
There'll be, there's a great photo of me and my two closest friends,
Right.
from college, and it's like, oh, this is great, and then it's just
Yes.
like, and I'll use that one, but I'll probably be using that one for 6+ months.
Totally agree with you because I mean, Paula always comments that we don't have a lot of pictures together, so like we have to make a very conscious effort to take pictures together.
Yeah. I like
then-
how you have your arm out like she's there.
Right.
She's in this airspace.
The video will catch it.
No, it won't.
But it is true. Like I feel like I have more candid shots of me just like from weddings and events and things where like somebody took a picture I didn't even realize they were taking, but like
Those
Yeah.
are the best photos, though. Everyone looks the most handsome and the most beautiful in a candid moment, and because you can see their soul. All right.
No.
I just got yelled at for not talking into the mic again.
Well, the mic is like down to your elbow
Whatever.
right now.
I'm
You have
trying
to be in the
comfortable.
mic. But one thing I'll say about having kids, it's the coolest thing to sit down with our kids and look at photos when
Yes.
Michelle and I first met,
Yeah.
and when we were dating, and when we got married and went on our honeymoon. So make a point to start taking some photos of yourselves
I
because
don't
you're
think
going to
my-
want that
I
once
don't
you have
think
kids
my
and you want to
cats
look
really
back
want
on
to
your,
see
on your
photos
past.
of
Yeah,
me and
that's kinda
Matt
cool.
when we were dating.
Well,
They're not going to want to see.
your godkids will.
Oh, that's a good point.
Do it
Yeah.
for the godkids.
No one's going to pick me to be a godparent ever.
I wish I had it with me right now because I just my aunt just found a bunch of old photos at her house, and it was like a photo of the entire family when we were up at Lake George, and
Nice.
I've got to be like maybe 3 or 4.
Oh, little Mikey.
So like, but like we're two like. My cousin Max and I, who are close in age, are both lying down on like one of the lounge chairs, like a pool lounge chair.
Right.
But we're at the lake, and then my one uncle's there holding my other cousin, and then my sister's over there. All my cousins, like everybody's lined up, and there's the age gap for the cousins is me. Well, my cousin Jake's a couple years younger, but it's 20 years. The oldest cousin is 20 years older than me. So it's like, it's amazing. And then there's also parents in there,
Yeah.
and everybody's in this photo. And there's very few photos that we have. We have one at the farm where everybody's in it
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Right.
And it's just like, wow, it's amazing to see
Yeah.
the whole family
Like,
together.
We didn't
That's
even
right.
take a photo
That's
of
huge.
me, my mom, my sister, well, I probably did that, grammar's probably wrong, at her bridal shower. We're like, oh my god, we don't have a single photo of my sister. Because we were all just so busy, like, hosting. And
right.
We went into that restaurant mindset, and we're like, oh my god, we have no photos of the three of us. Like,
and that's a memory you'll never be able to look back on.
I mean, right now I just look back on it in my head, but like I'm also, it only happened a year ago.
And as you get older, the memory kind of fades away a little bit. Trust me on that.
So like we were kind of like bummed about that. So I'm definitely trying to be more purposeful. Like my best friend's bridal shower is Saturday, and I'm hoping that we can grab some photos. But you know, it's so hard and eventful days because you're being pulled in so many different directions. That's really why when I get married, I really don't want photos to be staged because I want to hang out with the people that I'm inviting.
Right.
Like I want to hang out. I think it's really shitty when you go to a wedding and you don't get to spend any time with the bride or groom.
You're in control.
No,
and
I
that's
know
the
that.
biggest thing.
No, I know that.
Like,
We
talked about this, but you know, I bring it up to everybody. Be in control, because you know, like yes, you are. He might want to take all the artsy photos in the world and everything like that. It is your party.
You're paying.
You
are
in charge.
Yes, that's absolutely it. That's absolutely
so
it.
I'm trying to be more purposeful and just enjoy it. But I just think stage, and Matt like literally hates attention. Like he hates it. So I think the idea of like us spending 20 minutes taking photos, 20 minutes isn't that long. Taking photos together. I was
going to say,
right
Matt
now,
probably hates attention more than I do.
That's like 2 hours.
Oh yeah, he hates attention. Like if you say his name, he's like, ah! Like, what do you want? So like spending 20 minutes of the time where we could be hanging out with our guests and drinking and eating, like that's just not something that him and I value.
Right.
You know? So I have an idea, and Scott's going to take it, but he's getting married way before me, so it works. But I told Matt, when we get married, I want to do a shot of Jameson, like, in terms, you know, people, like, light candles, and they pour sand. I'm like, let's do a shot of Jameson. Like, let's buy a good Jameson.
That makes a lot of sense for you, yep.
That's like me and Matt's, like, that's the core of who we are. You know, we cheers, we always celebrate good things at the end of the day, much like your family, David.
Absolutely.
We always try to, and also we cheers to bad things, too, sometimes, you know, and I'm like, that is so fitting for us, and also, like, it's an excuse to buy a $300 bottle of Jameson. You know what I mean? It's kind of an excuse.
Add to your Jameson collection.
Do a shot of tequila at our wedding.
Fair.
That's nice.
You should do the salt on her hand.
Trace,
that's gonna be a party.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
that would be.
Matt went to we went to a wedding together, and it's actually my parents' restaurant. We don't ever do weddings, but it was a good customer of ours. So we closed the place down on a Sunday, and it was a second marriage, and we had the best day ever. And they got married in front of our fireplace. It was gorgeous. And we all were drinking, like having a drink, and Matt was like, it's amazing that we can drink. Like, for him, the idea of drinking while watching, like, someone get married was, like, amazing. He was like, this is great. And I'm like, well, I think it's appropriate. Like, have a drink, sit down. And then when we went to this past summer, we had champagne served to us in this gorgeous, like, greenhouse, while we were, and I'm like, I had like 3 of them. I was like, what? Because it was really good. But I like the idea of having a drink while someone gets married.
It's, I'm not sure if we had them while they were getting married, but I have to say, my parents' wedding when my mom got remarried was a ton of fun. You know, and I was 14, so like, but it was, we were on a boat, and it was we launched out of Battery Park and circled Manhattan while they were getting married, wedding. And it was a blast. Like, and yes, my sister, who's 10 years older than me, snuck me my first drink.
Of course,
you know, like, and
it's appropriate time.
You know, we're having fun, we're dancing, and everything like that. I'll never forget my uncle. I mean, everybody else, like my mom, I think might have been mortified by his toast, but his toast was awesome. And I mean, it just was my kind of sense of humor. He proceeded to give the entire definition of toast.
Yes.
Like, you know, like nothing about, like, just about bread and how it's, you know, like, and it was just like, this
Michael
was
Scott
awesome.
Did that. He hates The Office. Michael Scott went at
best show.
Phyllis's wedding and said wedding, only he had the definition of welding. And he was reading it aloud. So Michael doesn't like watching The Office because he internally cringes every time Michael.
Yeah, it hurts.
But I'm like, but right then and there is why you should watch it, because you would identify with that.
You would appreciate it.
I like an episode at a time. I cannot binge watch it because the cringe builds in me to the point where I am just like
dying,
like my nerves are on end. Like I'm just like,
oh no.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Paul is watching it for the first time now, and like so we're binge watching it, and
me and Matt are watching it again.
There's moments in time where Paula just turns to me and she's like, Michael's kind of an asshole. I'm like, of course he is.
I disagree.
He can be at times.
He's a giant asshole.
When he makes Phyllis just feel like
jokes,
shit.
yeah.
But it's so good.
No, it is really good. No, he actually is a really kind of a shitty person, but he means well.
He does mean well, and that's why it's a great show.
Is that what you're trying to do, Michael?
So
Michael did the wrap up thing. I did the.
Yeah.
I just fucked up on it.
Well, it's I mean, obviously, when you're with friends, time flies by. I mean,
when you're having fun.
In an hour, that's
crazy. It's
wow.
quick. So, David, of course, we'll have you back on as many times as you're willing.
My pleasure.
God, these guys and their voices. It's like I want a gravel voice.
Well, sing some of that rock music that Mike was playing for me. You have it in about a week.
Yeah.
That voice?
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
what was that band?
Well, two bands, Opeth and Trivium.
Oh, man.
Heavy bands.
You heard of NSYNC? They're lovely.
Oh, boy.
But anyway.
My Kendrick Lamar right now.
This week's episode of Castles, Crips, and Cocktails. Again, thank you to David Radney. I am Michael Copeland.
Megan O'Brien, finally not being third.
Megan's jumping in there.
I'm like, shut up!
But more importantly, I'm Scott Stewart, and this is Castles, Crips, and Cocktails.
And
cheers!
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Cheers.